Tonight we're going to talk a little bit about food, do a little bit of cooking. I have a couple tips that I've read about in recent ledges. Figured I'd share with you guys. So first thing, when I have to get the fire going, I figured I'd show you guys how I typically do that inside, you know, in a regular type fireplace to get it going, a way to set it up to where you can get at coals, cook over the coals when you need them, and keep that thing going ultimately. So give me a second here. Alright, so my first two initial logs that I put in there, I like to put them straight in. Just like that. And basically I'm just going to make a log cabin style fire, if you will. So my next two pieces are just going to go the opposite direction, like such. That's going to give me plenty of airspace, just like we need outside, you know, to have a good fire and keep it going. So I usually do 2 layers inside is pretty sufficient. I may throw one more log on the top, just like that in the middle. Again, going the other direction, and once coals start falling down inside here, I can use my little grabber here and just pull coals out from the middle, put them over to either side, and I have multiple cooking surfaces with coals on either side and obviously the fire there. Now to get it going, I have a couple small pieces that weren't burnt all the way the last time. So I'm going to put them right down in that cavity. Another bigger one. Catch this side hole. Plenty of air still. And then I just have some birch bark, just like I use outside. Just take my birch bark now, tuck it down in that same cavity there. And just light it with my cigarette lighter. Obviously, another key to this is properly seasoned wood. So it should catch right up, no problem at all. So while that's going, let's go talk about some food. So again, in a recent ledger that I was reading, it explained how James Alexander ordered a bunch of the food you see here on the table. Through George Morgan's store. A lot of these foods here were available during different times of the season. Good variety of food here. And most of this stuff was, you know, when they made it back from long hunts back to the station camps and the forts. Although a lot of these things could very well be taken out on the long hunts. We have assorted beans here, from black beans, kidney beans, lima beans. We have green and yellow split peas. We also have some walnuts. And this was more in the middle country towards the Illinois. Potatoes were said to have been ordered in bushels. Lots and lots of potatoes. Didn't really mention which kind of potato, just that there were bushels and bushels of them ordered by James Alexander. Onions were also noted in that ledger. Cucumbers, another one. carrots as well. It was even said that James Alexander ordered carrot seeds to plant it himself, you know, and if things worked out, he would have his own carrots that he grew himself. Something that I don't have that's out of season at this time is pumpkins, and they were both available, the full pumpkin, and it was also said that James Alexander ordered pumpkin seeds also. And we have celery, some radish, turnip, a few different types of squashes it talked about. I have a couple different types here, butternut squash and acorn squash. Horseradish was another one on the list. Garlic in both cloves and seeds. He mentioned in the ledger different types of cabbages, particularly red and your typical Savoy type cabbage. Broccoli and cauliflower are also noted in that ledger. Even parsley. And then corn was all over the frontier. Different types of corn. The Indians were growing up to 5 different types of corn. One of the favorites all over the frontier would have been white corn, or the Flint variety. He also had fruits. He didn't really name the apples either. He just said they were early season apples. So we got a red and a green here. Nectarines was also on the ledger, and different types of pears. Another thing mentioned in the ledger was particularly the Iroquois Indians considered this dish we're going to make tonight sort of a delicacy, and because corn was so prevalent and different varieties of it, this one's actually, the silk has already been removed. But what you could do is just strip, the husk of the corn back a ways, pull out the silk, put the husk back on it, dip your corn in water, and cook that right over the coals. And that was pretty common practice. But the Indian delicacy, or what they considered a delicacy, was actually squirrel. So if you take the husk off the corn, put the squirrel in the husk, wrap it up, dip it in water, and throw it over the coals. Again, that was a delicacy to them. So I have a squirrel that I shot about a month ago or so, been in the freezer. So we're gonna cook that up. Be the first time I've tried it like that, so be new to me, maybe new to some of you guys. So we'll get that on the go. So again, a plentiful variety of food here that would have been available to them, after they come back on their long hunts. And it was said that most of the time George Morgan's hunters would have went out for roughly 4 months before they'd come back. So having all this available would have been a feast at that point for them. Obviously all the cabbages and stuff, good for stews. And that's just something else I've been reading quite often lately about the stews, is even out on the long hunts, the stew pot was kind of the meat and potatoes of the operation, so to speak, where they'd just constantly have that thing going, and anything the guys would bring back when they went, check traps or just do a little hunting for sustenance food, meat obviously in particular, they'd bring back some meat and they'd just continuously add that to the pot. So at times there'd be a mix, at least from what I read, of different variety of meats in that stew pot at any given time. So I thought that was pretty cool. I'd share that with you guys. Alright, so I took my squirrel here, kind of just cut him in half, make him a little bit smaller because my corn wasn't too long. So I could fit half of it wrapped up in our corn husks. Now all we need to do is dip them in water and throw them on the coals. So let's get some coals together here. Alright, so while Squirrel's cooking on the fire over there, figure we'd get a bit of a stew in the pot going too. Nothing crazy, but cut off a little bit of cabbage here. Potatoes. Not really in stew fashion, but I'm going to throw my corn in there once it's almost done and cook that up just so it doesn't go to waste. Pieces of garlic for good measure. Huh? A little onion. Probably still a little bit of onion. Quarter of one-ish. Add that squirrel in there. Handful of kidney beans, maybe two. Handful of lima beans. Handful of green peas. Handful of yellow peas. And last but not least, carrot. Alright, so we got our stew pot. And throw the lid on that. Throw him right in there. Actually, I'll have to knock this down a little bit. Throw our pot right in there. It's gonna be some good. So you can see I've knocked down the log fire, and all that's a matter of doing is taking the two logs that were across on the top, pulling them to face the same way as the first two bottom ones were, fill in that middle. And I got plenty of hot coals there, plenty of fire to cook this stew up, and the flames are still going pretty good as well. Alright guys, so lost pretty much the top part of my husks. As it was cooking, it opened up and the husks fell off, and the top layer burnt essentially. I don't know if you can see this, but I can see how this is a good treat. There's actually all kinds of juices in here that just stayed in there from the way it was cooked. It smells fantastic. Got our stew here. Like I said, I threw the corn in there as well at the end. Ooh, it's hot. The other part of the squirrel. Look at that. Oh, good Lord. Just scoop some of the other essentials out of here. Some red cabbage, carrots. This smells fantastic as well. All them different beans and peas in there, some garlic. Go ahead and start with that for now before I get too greedy here. Throw a dash of salt on this, you guys don't mind. A little bit of pepper. Well, gotta try a piece of the one that was in the corn husk, you know, that just has to happen. A little bit stringy, but that's typical. Definitely good. Try the one from the stew pot here. Yes, sir. Could use a touch of salt. Not bad. Red cabbage. Good meal. Damn good meal. I like to come back, you know, after being out on a long hunt for, you know, several months. You know, who wouldn't enjoy it, right? That's some good meat. Carrot, right on the money. Chop this corn. real good meal right here. Put you right to sleep. Which is what I'm about to do shortly. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and finish my dinner. I'll spare you guys me eating in front of you. But we thank you for joining us. We appreciate your views. We appreciate your support. And we'll see you in the next one.